I was looking at the Securities and Exchange Commission website, and up pops this bulletin, new investor bulletin on variable annuities. And I looked, and it was the same one that they'd issued a long time ago. And I got to thinking, well, the only reason they would reissue that bulletin is because they're getting a lot more consumer complaints about variable annuities. And again, it's not the product, it's the way the product is sold as an alternative to CDs. I was doing a class the other day, and a person asked a question about annuities, and so I decided I got to go into a little bit more detail here. So I started asking her a lot of questions, and I said, you're probably, they probably offered you something that sounded really good, and they probably were offering you a rate of return of maybe 6 or 7%. She goes, no, 12. I said, wow. We live in a 1% interest rate world, and they're giving you a product yielding 12%, and there's no risk. Something's terribly wrong there. Something's terribly wrong there. And so you just have to, what I love about all of these investor alerts here is that it doesn't say don't buy a variable annuity. It doesn't say buy a variable annuity. It just gives you all the information you need to know to make a right decision about buying a variable annuity, or any kind of annuity for that matter. And they're really good. They just arm you with the questions about what are the fees, what are the risks, and other things like that. And so they do a good job with that. Anybody in this room who's been approached to buy an annuity, please read this alert. You will be glad you did, because you will now be armed to sit across the table and ask the appropriate questions. I always tell the story about my mom. My dad died about 10 years ago, and my mom went into the bank a few days later to change the title on their trust account, and she got to the young teller there, and the gal said, Mrs. Chamberlain, I notice you have a rather sizable amount of money in the account that's not really earning any interest there. Would you like to talk to one of our consultants? My mom was a trusting soul, and she goes, sure, why not? I got time. And so across the lobby comes this Tom Cruise handsome guy, okay? And he's backlit too. That's what's so strange about it. He was backlit. I don't know how they did that. And he gets over there and he says, Mrs. Chamberlain, what an honor to meet you. Let's go in my office and take care of some stuff. Let's talk this out, okay? And so they went over there. My mom would always say that she could remember in her mind the sound of the deadbolt being thrown on the door when she got into this guy's office, and he spent the next 2 hours trying to shove a variable annuity down her throat. She said she probably would have been there longer if the guy hadn't had to go to the bathroom. So it worked out that she was able to get away. But it's happened. I'm telling that story, and a lot of you are going, "Holy mackerel! That's what happened to me." So it's going on out there, folks. So you've got to be willing to ask questions when investments are suggested to you, investment advice is offered to you. You've got to be ready to ask questions, and that's what all of these investor alerts on those websites do. Education's the key to being a successful investor. It's as simple as that. You've got to know what you're getting into. You've got to be willing to ask some very important questions. So.